Good evening. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I didn't expect to be so moved by all that. So many memories are stirred. Well, good evening, and as founder and president of LifeHouse Productions, it's my happy privilege to officially welcome you, one and all, to Trinity Church. And so much of what we have become began here at Trinity, so it's quite fitting that we would be here. Since the mid-1980s, we were here, and here we are now, and it's hard to believe. But it's fitting to be here to celebrate what God has done in our midst, and also what he's done this past season and for many years in the past. Tonight, we welcome so many. We welcome our season subscribers, our patrons and honored guests, our family of faithful financial supporters and partners, our dozens of hardworking LifeHouse volunteers, our cast storytellers and alumni of LifeHouse Productions, our LifeHouse Theater Outreach Touring Group, our volunteer production teams, our office staff, advisory board, and members of the press and media. Welcome to our 20th season celebration. Thank you. Thank you. The truth is, we wouldn't be here as far as we have been with our Lord helping us. And he's the one, of course, who has been the true CEO all of these years. Yes. And LifeHouse also would not exist without you. You who have been an encouraging, faithful presence for so many years. It's you who have given the sacrificial time and resources to make it all happen. And you have been giving us the sustaining support through your financial partnership. And you've helped keep the lights on and the bills paid, even when we weren't sure how. And you've helped us keep our tickets priced so that they're accessible for families. And most of the people dearest to me are here tonight, and I owe a huge debt of gratitude to all of you. Please know that I think of you often as I pray through our constituency, and I want to thank you for catching the vision of all that LifeHouse has become and how the theater arts can be redemptive, wholesome, and inspirational, life-changing as well. And I take no one here for granted. Please know how grateful I am for you, and it is in the spirit of thanksgiving now that I ask that you'll join me in prayer. Dear Father in heaven, we celebrate you tonight, and we thank you for all that you have done in our midst. We thank you for 20 years and for sustaining the ministry of LifeHouse. We want to thank you for the ways that you have been evident in changing lives for the better and the way you have revealed yourself in the lives of so many people who have, we've been blessed to see come through our doors at LifeHouse. Thank you for the ways that you have revealed your attributes and sustained us in faith. Lord, we commit tonight to you. We ask your blessing on it, and we ask you to bless the 20th season ahead. In Jesus' name, amen. It's an honor to welcome a most distinguished group of special guests tonight, and none more distinguished than a LifeHouse alumni that I'd like to call to a stage, a dear lady who has appeared in 2 productions at LifeHouse, and who also happens to be a member of the Redlands City Council. She's been mayor twice. Please join me in welcoming Pat Gilbreth. Pat, it's a real honor to have you with us this evening.
Is this an interview?
Well, you never know. Do you have anything to hide? You're not one of those kind of politicians, are you?
No.
Well, I recall you were in one of our rather early productions in the early part of our time at LifeHouse.
I served you well, I think, in terms
Yes.
of time. And one thing that just did happen was I became a politician, and so my time took me away from you, but I really miss being there.
Well, in some ways, I imagine the theater arts come in handy with what you're doing.
Well, there are times you have to act a lot.
Well, we like to think of you as one of those good people out there fighting the good fight.
Well, thank you so much. I do have to tell you, we were actually back in the old strip mall.
We like to think of it as an office mall.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Costuming was down the end of the strip mall.
Yes.
And the theater was in the other side, and it was just kind of cramped quarters and people running back and forth all the time, and I have great memories of that. But I have to tell you, I was served in Mary Poppins, and it's a wonderful life. And I can't tell you how they changed my life in terms of my involvement with my church, too. This man is a direct messenger of God. And anybody... Anybody who's had the privilege of auditioning and being selected and being in his basically congregation, you're preached to, you're prayed with, you're encouraged, you're just led through a wonderful experience. And Wayne, I can't tell you how much I love you, and just a wonderful experience. But I have to tell you, there were some things that did happen. He's the first person that never got me to dance. I'm a fisherman. I'm a golfer. I'm not a dancer. But he got me dancing as Miss Lark. And the other thing that happened that I just absolutely love, and I see children growing up, I knew Dustin when he was this big.
Was he ever that big?
Oh, he was pretty small then. And then the Coombs family, I got to know them quite well in the production. And even today, I can go in the market and somebody will come up and say, weren't you in that production? Weren't you in LifeHouse?
Uh-huh.
I mean, that is such a wonderful experience being involved in the cast that you have friends that last forever, and you are part of that, Wayne, and I love you for it.
Thank you so much.
The other thing that happens, the Coombs family girls were actually in the production, and at the end I knew I'd made it because they took the coal and just smeared it all over me. The children knocked me down and smeared me all over with coal. And I knew I'd made it then.
Those chimney sweeps. You were an honorary chimney sweep.
I was an honorary chimney sweep. So
we appreciate it.
God bless you and many, many more years of success.
Thank you so much,
You bet.
Pat. Thank you for your kind words. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, Pat, we certainly wish you well in fighting the good fight in government, and it is a pleasure to have you here tonight. And we'd like to say that LifeHouse would be nowhere and nothing without God, and it is his presence and faithfulness that has sustained us for 20 years, as I've said earlier. And here now is our beloved production director, one of them anyway, who is going to help us focus our thoughts on the author of all creativity, as Sarah Ayat performs Great is Thy Faithfulness. May we join together in silent prayer of thanksgiving during this time.
seed time and harvest, sun, moon, and stars in their courses above, all join with nature in manifold witness to thy great faithfulness, mercy, and love. Pardon for sin and a peace that endureth, thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow. Blessings are mine with 10,000 beside. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I've needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto me, to me. Great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, now forever shall be. Great is thy faithfulness, great is thy faithfulness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I've needed, thy hand hath provided. Great is thy faithfulness. Great is thy faithfulness, Lord, unto
Thank you so much, Sarah. It was truly heartfelt, and great has been the Lord's faithfulness and continues to be. Well, it was Francis Schaeffer who observed that all art has a message. When we go to the movies, we're actually, if you think about it, we're actually paying money to have someone pump for a couple of hours some ideas into our heads, usually the producer's worldview or perhaps the director's worldview, certainly the writer. And at LifeHouse, we seek to tell good stories well, to make a dramatic difference in the marketplace of ideas. Stories that uplift, encourage, inspire, and affirm faith. family stories appealing to all walks of life. We want to address through the staging of original musicals the age-old philosophic classical questions, who am I, why am I here, where am I going? And we want the thought-provoking answers presented through quality entertainment that changes lives because it's rooted in simple biblical values. Thank you for helping to make it happen. Now, we need it to happen, especially in this climate today, more than ever. And I'm very passionate about that, as you would expect. I hate to ask for things, but because I'm passionate, I'm going to ask anyway. And I'd like to already plant the seed. I'm going to be asking you to specifically respond to our needs this evening. And I'm hoping that it will be through financial partnership with us, if you haven't already especially. We'd like you to consider that. And if you have, we'd like you to consider if you might be something more that you can do. And even though I hate to put it that way, and it seems a little crass in some way, I'm asking for help because I have seen lives change. And before you leave this evening, I hope you'll have that sense too. And because I've seen lives change and I've seen God use this place called LifeHouse, we'll have a moment of reflection, and then we're going to pass baskets. I'm actually going to ask for an action point tonight, and I hope you'll consider that. But first, before we get to all of that, I'd like to invite my associate and good friend and artistic LifeHouse producer, Dustin Sidehammer, to join me as we celebrate.
Hi, Wayne.
You GQ guy, you.
You look really sharp today.
Thank you. Before I was married to my wonderful wife, Tammy, I took my cues from store mannequins. But now I have her help, and I feel much better about it. And
We all do.
And after all, it's been, it's our 20th anniversary at
Absolutely.
LifeHouse, so we have to look dapper. And
Gotta
you
look
do.
spiffy,
Thank you.
right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
So we're glad. Now that we've complimented each other,
Yes.
I want to thank you for being here to celebrate our 20 years. You've had a huge part of that. In fact, as artistic producer, you have really helped raise the quality bar at LifeHouse. And I'm wondering if you could give a little behind-the-scenes peek at what you do as artistic producer at LifeHouse. What are some of those things that have to happen behind the scenes in order for the productions to look as good as they do?
It's a very good question. The answer is there's 12 departments or areas that I kind of oversee and coordinate. 4 of them are with my good friend Nathan Prince, and that's the lighting, the sound, the scenery, and the special effects that happen in a show. The other areas are properties, the costumes, the stage direction, the choreography, music direction, if there are any moving assignments in the show, and then if it's a new show, help oversee the orchestration and how that coordinates with the new script. And then kind of the most important element that I help coordinate is the spiritual element. I just meet with the directors and we just kind of set a spiritual game plan for the course of the rehearsals and the production, what they'd like to see spiritually happen.
Oh, I appreciate that. Now you do something often that's called a paper tech rehearsal. What would that be?
A paper tech rehearsal is the director's nightmare. This is where the people who've directed, we've talked about these 12 different areas, and we meet with the production team, and page by page, we go through the 12 areas, departments that I just talked about. So page by page, we talk about what the lighting is doing on that page, what the stage movement is at that, what the choreography, what the music is doing, what the properties are needed, what the scenery does. So we go page by page through the production. Some paper techs have taken 2 or 3 days to get through the production. Some can go really quickly, but it's a very tedious process to get from the idea to actually opening night. And it just takes a lot of time, a lot of tireless hours, a lot of volunteers, just a lot of fun too.
Sure it is, but that's why there's so many people here tonight, because there's so many people who have to have a hand in that process, and we're grateful to all of you. And you have really helped in so many ways. I may have, at one time, years and years ago, perhaps imparted something to you, but I learn more from you now, so things have really come full circle. I appreciate what you bring to LifeHouse. And this past year, we've seen some wonderful things happen, so why don't we take a moment to see what has happened at LifeHouse since the year ago when we last all met here, and see on the screens what the 19th season has been holding.
Let's do it.
All right.
The Wizard of Oz. LifeHouse led one and all on a spectacular journey down the yellow brick road as our own original award-winning adaptation of The Wizard of Oz returned to win the hearts of our audiences. Once again, Dorothy, Toto, Scarecrow, Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion bravely battled the Wicked Witch and rescued the land of Oz. A fantastic Art Deco set, lively performances, captivating costumes combined to make this a most memorable stage experience.
The sound of music. The hills were alive with the sound of music last summer as LifeHouse Productions presented the Rodgers and Hammerstein classic masterpiece in all its splendor. An outstanding array of top talent graced our stage to retell the beloved story with beautiful sets, choreography, and costuming. This much anticipated production became the talk of the community and attracted hundreds of guests new to LifeHouse.
Job, a modern man. The biblical story of Job came to life in a stunning new way as an inventive biography of the patriarch retold his tragic circumstances as if Job lived today. Utilizing state-of-the-art multimedia technology to convey the scope of God's creation and his astonishing reply to Job's lament, Job, a Modern Man, was one of the most powerful productions ever staged at LifeHouse.
Peter Pan. A fun family fantasy launched the current 19th season of LifeHouse Theater as Peter Pan returned for a dazzling encore performance. Wendy and her brothers joined Peter Pan on a magical journey to Neverland as they met Tinker Bell and battled Captain Hook in a quest to save Tiger Lily. Captivating choreography combined with a catchy musical score to enchant audiences of all ages.
Miracle on 34th Street. The Christmas season at LifeHouse Theater was as memorable as ever with a delightful new rendition of the classic Miracle on 34th Street. New York City was beautifully recreated on our stage as Kris Kringle charmed his way into the hearts of even the most cynical of citizens. The true spirit of the season was celebrated as this triumphant tale inspired and encouraged all who shared the experience of this whimsical story.
Snow White. Comedy, adventure, and fantasy were the hallmarks of our latest presentation of Snow White. Our original musical adaptation featured amazing special effects as we experienced Snow White's encounters with 7 zany dwarves and the treacherous queen. Many young people new to the stage made their acting debut in a hilarious production that captivated audiences from Once Upon a Time to Happily Ever After.
The Rise of King David. An inspirational musical epic returned to our stage as The Rise of King David related the scriptural true events in the life of Israel's greatest monarch. Powerful portrayals were the hallmark of this biography of King David, which featured the dangerous dilemmas faced by this humble shepherd, soldier, and psalmist. A stunning set design, brilliant lighting, and majestic music all combined to punctuate an exhilarating stage experience.
Anne of Green Gables. A heartwarming favorite is currently playing at LifeHouse as the delightful Anne of Green Gables recreates the simple joys of Avonlea. The irresistibly imaginative orphan Anne Shirley steals everyone's heart as she discovers love, faith, and friendship in hilariously unexpected ways. One of our most popular musicals continues to amuse and inspire audiences, and we trust you'll pay a visit to meet Anne.
LifeHouse Theater's dazzling 19th season continues with all the fun and adventure of 3 powerful musicals. Join us as the Three Musketeers storm our stage for the first time. This fun and intriguing musical adventure premieres with swashbuckling excitement. Next, the popular MGM classic musical debuts at LifeHouse as 7 brides for 7 brothers commence their romantic antics. Finally, our 19th season concludes with the premiere of our latest new biblical musical, Daniel, a retelling of the scriptural stories and prophecies revealed in this fascinating book of the Old Testament. Be sure to share in all the excitement ahead this summer at LifeHouse Theater.
Well, it's been an exciting year thus far, and we look forward to a wonderful finish by faith to the end of the 19th season and to all the fun that we have ahead. And speaking of fun ahead, we're going to have a lot of fun in our 20th season. Can I give them just a little kernel of information to
tease them, Wayne.
Tease them?
Tease
Yeah.
them.
That's what we're all about. Shameless teasers to publicize what's coming up. We have a special announcement about the 20th season.
Do we?
Yes.
We do?
It will come after the 19th. But in addition to that, we're going to supersize it. We're so excited about the 20th season. It's supersize
What
it.
does that mean,
We're
Wayne?
going to announce 10 titles in our 20th season. Yes, I know. He did that because he knows all the production work we're going to have. There now. Are you all right? Can we go on?
10?
10.
No.
I know. But the good news for you is that there'll be 10 productions for the price of 8. So I think that's
10 for the price of 8?
You can stop now. That's all right.
That is good news, Wayne.
All right. Now, we're not going to announce it just yet, but I think it would be fitting, since we're in a very generous mood, to give away 2 season passes for our 20th season. And then when people find out what the season is, why, we'll have all kinds of, well, at least 2 people will be very excited.
Very excited.
So, I'm going to call forward our associate producer, Nathan Prince, who I believe has the drawing basket with all of the opportunity drawing puzzle pieces inside there. I believe there's some names. Have you mixed this up pretty thoroughly?
Our names are on top. Yes.
No, they better not be. That's all I can say. They'll be rioting out here. All right, so I'm going to ask you to dig deep and keep it fair, keep it honest, and Nathan will deliver. There we go. All right.
No.
Stop. Don't you be looking. All right, who's our first winner here? And it is none other than, you may have to hold this so I can read that. It is Karen and Robert Deach. Woo! Very fine.
Oh my goodness.
Now,
10 shows for the price of none.
10 shows for the price of none for them. And they're so excited. They're so excited and they haven't the slightest idea what they've won. That's amazing to me. But I'm happy to hear that. All right, let's do that one more time. Try to keep it fair. All right, dig deep. Okay. Anytime now. All right, who have we got here? Why, couldn't go to a nicer fellow. Rich Durant.
What?
There he is.
That's fantastic.
He needs that basket. Very good. Thank you. Congratulations, Rich, and congratulations over there, and thank you, sir. I appreciate all your help tonight. Well, since we're in a giving mood, let's continue that mood by getting to a very special part of our season celebrations, and that is our LifeHouse Scholarship winner. LifeHouse Scholarships have seen some extraordinarily talented winners with dear hearts that we've grown to love. Our first scholarship winner several years ago was Josh Lomelli, who went on to be chosen out of 600 young people for a program of 30 people in theater arts at UC Berkeley. And so we're very proud of him. Yeah, it's quite an achievement. Now, tonight's winner is no exception to excellence. All of the applicants were exemplary, and my thanks to each who honored us with your application. But one candidate in particular stood out to the panel, and this candidate, in just the last few years, has been featured in a dozen LifeHouse musicals. This year's winner invested considerable time writing essays in answer to questions posed by the scholarship committee, questions about the role of Christians in a secular world and how the arts can be used to make a difference. This candidate wrote, "LifeHouse has inspired my faith and helped me grow. I feel accepted and never an outcast. People of faith encourage and believe in me, and I hope to give back through the arts to help others, specifically utilizing American Sign Language in song and dance to interpret drama and help the deaf grow in faith. I want to use the arts in this way to change lives for God. The arts reach people in ways other forms of the gospel do not. I stand on Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Our winner has played everything from a schoolgirl to a monkey to a beggar and even a pig. Now that's versatility. And she's appeared on television, and she also helps behind the scenes in our tech department, having perfected lighting cues for countless performances at LifeHouse. She has a servant's heart, great determination and talent, and she has a name. And that name is Jasmine Bishop. Congratulations. Jasmine, you are one of the hardest workers at LifeHouse, especially behind the scenes, but also on stage. And we want to thank you for all that you've given and for your aspirations for the future. I know that that really struck the scholarship panel. And so anything more about your future plans? I know it's not just the sign language aspect, but what else would you like to pursue?
Well, I'm going to college right now, and I want to be an EMT and a paramedic and also a phlebotomist. So,
in your spare time, right?
Yes.
Well, we thank you. We want to extend our compliments and our congratulations to you, Jasmine. We look forward to hopefully working with you for many years to come. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to welcome longtime friends and supporters here of LifeHouse to our stage, and some very special supporters include former City Councilman Jerry Bean and his wife Brenda. And if you would grace our stage, we would be so grateful if you'll come up at this time. This is Jerry and Brenda Bean. Welcome. We're so glad you're here. I know that you have been a long-time enthusiast of LifeHouse, and then I noticed you came to more and more of our productions, and I think you began that well before you were a city councilman. Is that true?
Well before, back when you were in the corner of that office mall.
The office mall, yes. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad we stand corrected. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. Wayne asked us to come today. He said we would be representing the citizens of the Inland Empire, Redlands, particularly donors. And then he said, and you could have, a minute or 2 minutes? I could deal with anything. And he asked me to speak about why people contribute to LifeHouse Theater. And the answer to that is very simple. We like to be entertained, but furthermore, we like to be entertained by a theater that appeals to our better natures, to inspires our own personality in positive ways rather than the ways that Hollywood so often inspires us. So we definitely support it because of what the theater does, what it offers in the way of entertainment, but what a wonderful message. And I think why the LifeHouse is supported so well was greatly illustrated this afternoon at the production of Anne of Green Gables. What a wonderful story, what a wonderful message, and the audience was so receptive to it. I told Wayne the only criticism I have of it is it made me cry 3 times. But I'm going to turn the speaker over to Brenda, who's going to tell you about 2 other very enthusiastic fans of LifeHouse, our 2 granddaughters, who every time they come to town want to come to LifeHouse Theater. Brenda?
Well, it started when my granddaughter Sarah, who's now 11, was 2 years and 10 months. Now I read your program and it said 3. So I did make a phone call, and I said, I think she'll do okay. So I had an aisle seat, and the deal was if she couldn't manage it, we would leave. From the moment the production started, she was mesmerized, and every time both she and her sister now come, it's, is there a play going on at LifeHouse Theater? We want to go. And they love to dress up and love the message. They go to a Christian school, and we're so thankful.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, both of you.
Their last time here was Snow White, so you can imagine they were enthusiastic about that. But in summary, just let me tell you, there's no performing arts group that can make it on ticket sales alone. It always takes contributions from the community and from people who value what is being presented on the stage. And that certainly is true of LifeHouse. It's a wonderful ministry that you've started and that has been carried on by the storytellers and the artists who present these wonderful plays. For instance, a play that ended today with these words, the same words that the book ends in, God is in his heaven, all the world as well.
All is right with the world.
All is right with the world.
You see, I had to say that because I could hear the Ann purists out there all muttering, and I couldn't let a former city councilman look bad. So
I thought I was doing well getting the first part of it right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much, Brenda. I appreciate that. Thank you. Well, we thank you very much, and I would say I would pay you later for all those nice things, but that might be considered a bribe, and we don't want to get any more trouble with the government. But I do want to say that you have been wonderful supporters, and there's so many here that have been. But I would like to acknowledge our corporate sponsors this past year, Maupin Financial Services, Gary Chan with Chan Oral Surgery, the Lazy Boy West Foundation, without whose sustenance we would not be able to thrive and survive as a theater company. And I'd like to acknowledge those who have been faithful financial partners of 13 years or more with us. It's a remarkable group, and if you happen to be here this evening, I know not all of you are, but if you happen to be here, if you would stand as I call your name, we would be most grateful. And we have the house lights up a bit, and here are those who have been financial partners for 13 years or more. Hayne and Rochelle Baucom, Brenda Bennett, Julie Carlson, Dennis and Kay Sighthammer, George Christensen, Ken and Trudy DeWitt, Joanne Fairchild, Dale and Kim Folkens, Pastor John Janbaz, Mark and Karen Johnson, John and Jan Mace, Dave and Tammy Marvin, Dave and Robin Maupin, Marty and Susie McLeod, Joan Morrill, Phil and Carol Naylor, Joe and Judy Powers, Louis and Joanne Scott, Robert and Crystal Snedeker, Sue Studeman, Bill and Peggy Tilden, Richard and Laurel Tubbs, Neil and Grace Valkenberg, and Bob and Sheila Wines. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your vision in supporting what we're doing, and we wouldn't be here without you. Thank you so much for your help. Some of you have been supporting us before we were even an official entity, back in the dream stage of the late 1980s, and I thank you for your faithfulness. And that brings us to consider the legacy of LifeHouse, and as we do that, I'd like to invite to the stage a dear friend who was instrumental in developing and launching LifeHouse with me, a former student of mine, Mr. Rich Tubbs. Good to see you. Rich, that would have been nice of me if I'd thought of that.
Always anticipating.
Yeah, yes, I know. Silly me. How did we meet, and what are you doing these days?
Well, former student, we go back to 9th grade for me, and in fact, Jeff DeWitt was in that class, Matthew Wines, and so civics teacher, believe it or not, and then we had a creative communications class that I had the privilege of being part of, and so that's the start of it.
A lot of fun memories. And
absolutely.
You hung in there with me as we continued to do drama together at ACA. We actually started the drama department there, and then from there on, we just kept doing drama when I was an associate pastor here at Trinity, and you kept following, trying to help whenever you could. And then we really stuck our necks out with faith and a credit card, and we had a mailing list of about 200 people, I think, on a coffee table, and we were trying to garner support to get off the ground. But we never dreamed that LifeHouse could be what it is. It just didn't think it could grow to that.
Yeah.
Oh, us of little faith.
Absolutely amazing. In fact, I was looking through some of my notes. I've kept a little LifeHouse file from way back when, and when you talk about using the credit card to finance it, that's absolutely true. And
we don't recommend this for those of you at home.
We would use the garage. We were painting sets, and even way back then, it was a team of volunteers, other people who wanted to help. I remember the first time I got up on stage was because they needed someone in the chorus, and so I moved from the spotlight to the stage, and then had so much fun. And
you passed the early audition criterion of being male and breathing.
That's about it. And I had my own bathrobe.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm sorry to say we have staged our share of shepherds in bathrobes, but we try to go beyond that now. So, Rich, what are you doing now?
Well, right now I'm a principal of an elementary school, last 7 years, and I have to credit a lot of that to you, Wayne Scott, for getting me to where I am, and learned so many things being part of LifeHouse. And I think early on why I continued to work with you, and so many people continue to work with you, was because of what you stood for and how much we could see and appreciate those values and the standards that you wanted to communicate to others, and really investing in people. And as a principal myself, I've learned so many life lessons through LifeHouse that I'm able to also, because I work with youth and work with families in the community, and a lot of what I've learned from you on a personal level, I'm able to use in my leadership role there as well. And so you've taught me some very valuable skills and life lessons. And it's interesting in the program when you talk about the legacy of LifeHouse, and it immediately came to mind. The legacy, it's people. And way back in the planning stages for LifeHouse, 1993, and January 5th, and number one on the list was it's a ministry. And ever since then, all of the letters we'd hand out to people and inviting people to be part of the cast, number one on our priority list was reminding people it's a ministry. And it allows us a chance to communicate biblical values in a very creative way and an entertaining way. Certainly love that aspect of it, but also investing in relationships. And so that's, I think, the biggest piece that I've learned, and continued to invest in families in my own community, and certainly feel honored to be able to continue to invest here in LifeHouse as well.
Oh, thank you, Richie. In fact, we couldn't have gotten off the ground if it wasn't for you. You know, I'm not licensed to work any power tools, and
that's true.
Or
paint sprayers.
No paint sprayers. No. In fact, the only color they ever let me use is black, because they figure I can't go entirely wrong with that. But if it weren't for your sweat equity and all that you did to help us get off the ground, I don't know where we'd be. And God used you and continues to use you in my life, and I appreciate all that you've brought to LifeHouse and to myself. And I was looking up the word legacy because I was trying to reacquaint myself with some of the roots of all of that. And it really talks about giving something back and leaving something for the next generation, to pass the baton on to others so that it can be multiplied. And I know there are a lot of stories around here where hopefully that is continuing to happen, but it certainly has with you. We're very proud of you, and thank you for being with us tonight. We're going to take a look now at LifeHouse as a legacy and what's happening in people's lives right now. So we'll do that together, and thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. I'm glad so much that you're investing in the lives continuing today. So thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. I'll go down with you. We never dreamed that LifeHouse would be what it is today, especially thinking 20 years ago. My goodness. I've always thought I have some vision, but I don't think even I could have imagined that it would become as successful as it has. But it isn't, it's despite me, it isn't because of me. It's because so many other wonderful people that God has orchestrated into that 1 Corinthians 12 in action body of Christ has made it possible, where everyone has helped become an investor and stockholder in the company. I mean, everyone who is a part of our stage and behind the scenes has really built what LifeHouse is today.
I've played Jane Bailey, I've played Anne of Green Gables, Diana Barry, Anne of Avonlea, Toto, Dorothy, Glinda, the Witch.
I was homeschooled, so I didn't have a whole lot of social interaction most of the time. It was the first time I had been in a social situation where I didn't feel perpetually awkward about it, because there were actually people who were seeking me out. And so it was a really cool experience to actually have people who wanted me to be there.
Raising kids is hard enough in this world, and to have a place like LifeHouse where what's on stage and what they see when they come see a show, but also what's backstage, what they experience with the adults and the other kids, is more wholesome, I think, than even what they can see in their video games and their cartoons and movies that are out. And so for me, it was worth investing my time with my children at LifeHouse because it's such a wholesome and safe environment.
Growing up at LifeHouse is like being a kid in a candy shop for me. I mean, there's always more need than there is people to fill the need. And so if you're willing to do something, they're gonna let you. If you show like even the slightest bit of competence, they're gonna say, yes, why, you should choreograph something, or you should write a song, or you know, there's so much, you should paint sets.
Well, for me, like I said, middle school and high school, not the prettiest times in terms of self-esteem, depression, social anxiety. I had a whole laundry list of them. Alienation from self and others. It was fantastic, and so it kind of gave a sense of having a place that was a little bit more your own, and particularly for me back then as well. I was not a sports kid, and so this was my soccer, this was my football, this was
To say that LifeHouse has changed my life is definitely an understatement. I can attribute a lot of who I am today to the values, the skills that I've learned through LifeHouse.
You know, you have people who are there to act, but they're also concerned about the welfare of other people's lives, and they want to invest in them, and they do invest in them. And for me, there was some difference like while I was at LifeHouse, but the real difference came when I went out into the world, when I moved away and was on my own.
But I was a shy kid. You know, I was a kid that didn't fit in my middle school or my high school. It gave me a place to kind of learn how to be myself, built a lot of confidence in me.
As a Christmas touring show, we took Scrooge to 7 cities in about 7 weeks. And yet it was exhausting. Exciting, but exhausting. And we decided, let's look at the place where we were renting to rehearse and have storage facilities. And we thought this might make a theater. And so we did some numbers crunching. And with a credit card and a lot of faith, we decided to launch more formally LifeHouse Theater and LifeHouse Productions in 1994. We put down roots by faith at our New Jersey Street location in Redlands, and it grew from about 80 seats to 165 seats. And from there, the theater company flourished with the help of a real team of people, many of whom are involved to this day, and we wouldn't have made it without all of those folks. LifeHouse is the sum total of really talented, godly, gracious people who have been involved over many, many years.
When you're younger, you're just kind of looking for a sense of community and a place to belong. And I feel like that's what LifeHouse provided for me when I was younger, was just a place to be and belong.
Again, there's that sense of belonging, acceptance, people genuinely caring about one another, and that there's a place to fit pretty much for everyone. Again, it's not just folks who are up on the stage, performing, but painting, set designing, tech, volunteering, and it's many different ages generationally across the board.
Not only was it amazing theater, but the people just welcomed me in like I had known them forever, and it was unbelievable.
It's just fun, and it's a great community, and it's a great way to make friends, and it's a great way to keep yourself occupied and keep yourself out of trouble.
It hasn't been so much the acting, and I love acting. Going up and
and being on the stage never gets old, but it's the community at LifeHouse which impacts me the most. It's having that family, that body of people to go to that I know are always going to be there, that I know are rooted in Christ, that are supportive of me, that don't judge me, that I can be myself around. But at LifeHouse, I'm free to be myself, and that's priceless to me.
We knew at New Jersey that our lease was going to be up, and I had a board member come to me and say, what do you think about this facility where a church is about to leave it and it's going to become just an empty facility? It seemed as if it were achievable, daunting but achievable, and in fact it took about $200,000 to be raised. I remember that in the last couple of weeks before we were scheduled to open, I was working on a production. I was writing a show that was going to be staged after Ben-Hur. And I was called where I was holed up writing, and they said, oh, Edison has called us. Southern California Edison said that we don't have enough power. We need more power. I said, what's it going to cost? They said $20,000. And I thought, oh, where are we going to get $20,000? It seemed as if we'd called in every marker and every favor. How in the world can this happen? And wouldn't you know, God had a plan all along. And within just a few days, I received a call from the Lazy Boy Foundation, and they wanted to award us a grant of $25,000. The Lazy Boy Foundation came through, Edison was satisfied, we got the power we needed, and we opened on time. Well, half an hour late. I always say it came down to the wire. Literally, we were soldering some wires in the soundboard, and at 7:30, we still weren't able to admit the audience. And everybody was just so excited, and they were right with us. It didn't matter to them as long as we opened sometime that night. And we were soldering wires, so I like to say the opening of LifeHouse came down to the wire, and that's what it did, but we made it.
I feel so proud. I feel so proud to be a part of something that changes lives, not because I did anything great, but because we get to be a part of something that furthers the kingdom.
And then the part where King David is talking to the little boy. My girls both have NF, neurofibromatosis, and I saw my daughters, and that just tore me up because I always wonder what are they going to say when they grow up? Are they going to be feeling like, you know, nobody likes me, or they say this about me, or people are going to tease them? And just the fact that David in that show was so loving to the kid, and then the kid walks away and he's crippled. It's just so much beautiful stuff at LifeHouse.
I enjoy LifeHouse. I enjoy the people at LifeHouse. It's changed my life because it came at a time when I needed it desperately. I had lost my husband, and I needed that love, and I have received it tenfold.
Sometimes LifeHouse can be healing, you know, if things are going wrong in their personal life. LifeHouse can be a safe place that allows for healing and growth.
Especially if you're going through a time in your life where you feel like maybe you've done something to upset God, and maybe he doesn't love you as much anymore. You just need to be there, because everybody has open arms. Everybody's so welcoming.
Well, if someone wants to help LifeHouse, I would ask them to consider how they would like to help. Of course, we can use anyone's talents, and even people who don't think they have talent. You'd be surprised. It's amazing the kinds of things we need. We always need paint. We always need lumber. We always need batteries. It takes $2,000 a year just to have our microphones in batteries. And then, of course, there's just financial partnering with us. We need partners, faithful partners, as we've had. We wouldn't be here now if it weren't for people who have been supporting this dream since the late 1980s. We've had people who are still contributing. And that's what makes it possible for us to provide the experiences for our young people. It'd be wonderful for our alumni to give back. If all of our alumni, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of them, if they all gave $5 or $10 a month, we would never have financial worries. And it's easy to think, oh, my little bit won't make a difference, or it's just me. No, it's all of us. And then, of course, we're looking for those people who are visionary. It's amazing what secular business people are willing to fund rather bad values on Broadway, and they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to present worldviews contrary to what you and I believe. And they're behind that vision. Where are the people of faith? How are they opening up their checkbooks to make a difference? It's easy to criticize, it's easy to complain, but we're about creating the alternative and making a positive difference.
Intriguing.
Safe. Inspired.
Kindness.
Heavenly.
Creative.
Teamwork.
Passionate.
Wholesome.
Community.
Rewarding.
Laughter.
It's exhilarating.
Beautiful.
Bonding.
Powerful.
Encouraging. Febreze. If you've been in the guys' dressing room, you know what I mean.
Exciting. Definitely worshipful.
Thinking outside the box.
Wonderful.
Acceptance.
Brilliant.
Inspirational.
Crazy. Dramatic.
Fun.
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 Family.
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 I love the house.
Well, it is a pleasure to welcome to the stage the one who has rescued me from mannequins, my sweet dear wife, Tammy, whom we met at LifeHouse.
Yes, we did. Well, my heart is full. How about yours? I didn't realize I needed a box of tissue here tonight, but I needed one. My heart is so moved and so full just to see and hear all that LifeHouse has been to so many folks over the 20 years.
I feel the same way. I've been so moved tonight, and I didn't quite expect it because obviously I have a sense of what's probably going to happen tonight. But if you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And
That's right.
He has another idea about what we'll all experience together, and once again, he's written the script. And so we're very grateful for all that he's done in our midst. He has been faithful.
And we just would like to ask at this time what LifeHouse has been for you over these 20 years. If you have benefited at all from LifeHouse, either being involved on stage, behind the scenes, or enjoying the wonderful productions, would you just raise your hand? If you have benefited at all, raise your hand. Now everybody look around. Okay. Every person in here has benefited, and beyond what we see in this room. I have been a part of watching many, many lives be impacted and changed, even beyond what we saw here on the screen tonight and the testimonials tonight. It's just tremendous how God has used this organization and ministry. And I would like to ask you to envision, and Wayne, you can respond to this, what would it look like if there was no LifeHouse? If the doors closed and there was no more LifeHouse? What would that look like?
Wow. When the lights were up a minute ago, it crossed my mind flat. I could see many of you, and I know some stories that are represented. And I know I would be the poorer, literally, of course. I'd be out in the streets. But, we've never been in it for that. It's not something where you get into it as a ministry and you want to be rich and famous. That's not it at all. In fact, our staff, our hardworking staff, they haven't seen raises in years. And I'm sorry to say that sometimes we can't even meet payroll on time. It's one of the most agonizing things for me every month. I dread the 1st and the 15th because of the lease bills and the payroll bills. And our staff they've worked like troopers month after month after month, and I hate for them to have more faith in God than I do when it comes to whether expenses are going to be met. But God has been faithful, and it's thanks to many of you out here who have been visionary. But I can't imagine what it would be like for it not to happen. We've come closer than we have the last 2 years to wondering whether God might be saying, well, you had a good run, and now, as he did with Paul and Barnabas. Sometimes there are new chapters, but so far he's indicated, I think, that we're here and we need to stay. We still believe in it. We have a great enthusiasm for it, and we trust you do too. And so we don't want to think about not having LifeHouse.
So here's the question. Then what do we need to do to keep it going? Sometimes we think it's, it's just the people who have the money to give, just the folks who have the money to give $100 or a couple $100 a month. Well, that's not it. You know, up here we have this wonderful logo, Heart LifeHouse, Give Back. And that's going to be what I'm going to ask you to think about tonight, is all of you raised your hand in here. And I'd like you to think about giving back. If you have never been a sponsor, a monthly supporter, I would like you to think about that tonight. Now, here's the challenge. A lot of you are students. I know I'm still a student. And monies are tight, even for those of us who are working. But I buy lattes at Starbucks. Yes, I confess it. Movie tickets. Yes, I confess that too. What are some of the things you spend money on? You know, frivolous. Okay,
nothing frivolous ever.
Okay. How many times do we go through the drive-through? How many times have you looked in your wallet and you're like, darn, what happened to that $20? You know, that $20 bill that I went through like that so quickly, right? Well, that $20, if every person in this room and every person who benefited from LifeHouse gave that $20 a month, we would not have to wring our hands anymore on the 1st and 15th. It's as simple as that. So, for you alumni and for you folks that have danced across our stage and have benefited and seen lives touched, including your own, I'm going to ask that you would consider, you know, the woman with the one mite. She didn't have all this tons of money to give, but it was the woman with the one mite that made the difference, and Christ pointed that out. So I'm going to ask you to think about that tonight. That one mite, that's what makes the difference. And, you know, it's easy for us to take advantage and enjoy something so wonderful as LifeHouse and really put in the back of our mind that, well, it'll always be there. But that's not the case, right?
No, it's not. It's a faith walk, and that's why we began this evening with Great is Thy Faithfulness. So we have to keep the faith, and we trust you will too. And as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have an opportunity to think about that and then to respond. And I really pray that you will do that before the Lord as we just reflect. And in a few moments, the lights will come up and we'll be passing baskets. You'll have an opportunity to fill out the form. In fact, in your program this evening, there was a brochure that you can pull out, and it's got on the back of it some information. It's very easy to fill out, and we can take credit card information and that kind of thing, which I always hate discussing, but it is a way that we've sometimes tried to give. And you'll be able to respond this evening and pass it in that basket, or you can go outside when we announce the season in just a few moments. You'll be able to be excited about what we have to offer. We have an amazing deal tonight only. For those of you who are here, we wanted to give you the first benefit of that. And also for those who give $20 or more for the first time, or those of you who are increasing your donation, we are going to have a t-shirt. So new and continuing donors pledging to give $20 or more per month for the next year will receive a free I Heart LifeHouse t-shirt this evening, and we're very, very happy about that. We'll actually take those orders this evening, and you'll see that outside. There'll be a place for that, and we want to smother the community with that kind of advertising, but also to join with us that this is a faith walk. It is a faith walk. And also, to whom much is given, much is required. Strong biblical principle. We've had to learn that too. And so if you have been giving and you've been faithful in that, we deeply appreciate it. But is there more that could be done? We would like you to earnestly think about that too, because we want to share not just a burden, we want to share the joy of giving and the fruit that comes back from that. We don't want to just give God our leftovers or God the leftovers of our ministry here at LifeHouse. We want to give our first fruits, and we hope you'll consider that as well.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Shane Litchfield who composed that tune, and Chris Daub. And that is a preview song from our upcoming new production of Daniel, which will conclude our 19th season. So thanks for that preview. It gave us a few goosebumps. And we're looking forward to The Three Musketeers, Seven Brides, and Daniel concluding our season ahead. And that brings us to our 20th season announcement.
Are you ready? Here it is.
All right. Well, our first production, we wanted to kick it off strong, and we already told you it's a supersized season, so it's actually going to run from this October to next November of 2014. So we're going to pack 10 productions into that, and I think they're all blockbusters, and we're looking forward to not only seeing some old favorites that helped build LifeHouse, but also some new ones. The first thing we're going to have is a Broadway classic coming to life as LifeHouse premieres our 20th anniversary season with Man of La Mancha. This will be Don Quixote's holy quest becomes a mission of salvation to find compassion not for himself but for others, and we're looking forward to rendering that on our LifeHouse stage for the first time.
And following that, for our Christmas season, will be Scrooge, Delight in the Joy of Christmas, Dickens' classic Christmas Carol.
And then, to start off 2014, because the time is near, feed your imagination and curiosity as the entire book of Revelation comes back. We're very much looking forward to reviving this masterpiece by our own Dustin Sighthammer, and we look forward to having many of you there for that as well. And then...
And on the heels of that is Beauty and the Beast, a timeless tale of enchantment.
And then, after an absence of about almost 10 years, we're looking forward to thrilling to the epic classic adventure of Ben-Hur.
And following that classic, we will be inviting Heidi back, a beloved classic comic.
And then, as if that weren't enough, we're going to be taking a fantastic voyage to adventure once again as we go back to Treasure Island. And then another classic. We're doing 2 Broadway classics this year.
Well, Leaping Lizards, it's Annie.
And then we're going to have our resident genius, Dustin Sighthammer's new, latest biblical musical. We're going to premiere in late 2014, Samson.
And then we're going to close our season out with a very special new show that my husband will be writing, and that will be Sherlock Holmes, the Hounds of the Baskerville. Baskerville.
It looks like a rather scary, bloody kind of a production, but I think that
I think you can handle it.
It'll be suitable for family. I sure somehow we'll work on that. So Dustin and I have our work cut out for us, though, I think, for next year. But we're looking forward to all of that. So we have Man of La Mancha, Scrooge, Revelation, Beauty and the Beast, Ben-Hur, Heidi, Treasure Island, Annie, Samson, and Sherlock Holmes and the Hound of the Baskervilles. Who would miss any of that?
It's blockbuster.
So 10 productions for the price of 8. I think that's a pretty good deal. And that's tonight only, plus you get the concessions complimentary as well as premium parking. So you can see us out at the pavilion where all of that will be available. You can also make an additional donation while you're getting those season passes. And also, you can get your t-shirt at the t-shirt table, also by the refreshment pavilion. And we have other opportunities to donate. You can mail that in later if you wish, that envelope that each of you received. Or you can see the ushers on the way out, or you can go to that pavilion. We'll be there. There's also some memorabilia for you to look at from the last 20 years. And we are so blessed and thankful that you are here with us tonight. We are honored and privileged to have you in the LifeHouse family. Thank you so much for being with us. Good night, everybody. Thank you. you.